All right, how's everybody doing?
Hey, oh well.
Uh, we just want to do a quick spoiler cast on The Wolf Among Us. That came out. Episode 2 came out this week. Finally, 4 months later. um, I think you guys played episode 1 more recently than 4 months ago, right?
I thought I played it like right when it came out,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's still pretty fresh in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a power cycle. I
Yeah.
played episode 1 and episode 2 back to back.
Nice. That was that was recently, I guess.
Yep.
I don't remember much of episode 1, but I guess you two could talk more about that, and hopefully I'll get my memory refreshed as we go. But basically, whenever games come out that we feel we want to talk like more in depth about, we'll do a spoiler cast like this. Like The Last of Us would be a good example of a good one we would have done if the podcast was going a year ago. So we're not gonna do this for every game, but I think The Wolf Among Us and The Walking Dead. We probably should have done one for Walking Dead episode 1, but um, with all the player choices and all the variety of outcomes in this game, I think this is a good one. I don't know. Whenever I finish one of the Telltale episodes, I like going and watching other people's playthroughs on YouTube or reading in the forums or seeing what happened in other people's world. I think that's really interesting to me. So, just wanted to do a spoiler cast of this. We'll probably do one for each episode. And if any future games come out that we feel we really, really want to talk about and there's a conversation there that involves spoilers, we'll do a spoiler cast, which will be usually after we do the podcast, and it'll be uploaded to iTunes and YouTube in a separate episode like this one is. So, I don't know really where you would like to start. I got my player choices brought up on my screen right now, so I can talk about that for episode 1. But aside from that, I don't really have much to say, so I'll let you guys lead it.
Well, just to kind of like brush over like episode 1, I thought it was a great setup. Playing The Walking Dead, to me, I felt it was an improved control scheme. You know, just you saw the improvements. But as far as like the story went, like I really enjoyed the fight with the woodsman, and then like a little bit later on when you're in the bar and the woodsman, telling you what he was really doing at Riding Hood's house, and it was only by chance that he wound up being the hero, instead of the villain, which he was, which was his intent was for nefarious purposes. But I really like that little aspect there of finding out about it. Just some of the small details. Like I can say, like the biggest shocker to me was that had me like going, oh no, this can't be real. Was the very last scene when Bigby arrives back after apprehending either the woodsman or Tweedledee, depending on who you chose to go after.
Mm-hmm.
And you see Snow White's head, on the step. And man, I like at that time I was going all over the place, anywhere I could look, because I'm like, did I do a choice wrong? Can I redo this? Like, what can I do to keep her alive? And
Mm-hmm.
from like everything I read, that was a definitive ending. It's like, man, I really like this character. I was really liking the dynamic between her and Bixby.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say that because of playing this game has got me to actually starting to read the Fable comic,
Yeah.
which I picked up volume 1 yesterday, and I'm starting to read that because it's really piqued my interest in the overall property. But it just like that cliffhanger at the end of episode 1, which is so good because it caught me by surprise, and like it's like there's other little things in the game as far as your talk with Toad and TJ about when Dee comes to his house. I believe it was Tweedledee and Tweedledum, or one of the two of them that came at their house and roughed up Mr. Toad a little bit.
Right.
TJ witnessed just some of those little things there, but that end was just man, it had me feverishly wanting it not to be so.
So my playthrough, I kind of handled Bixby as I guess it's how it's presented. This try to be good cop with the rough edge, and that's kind of how I made all my choices. Wasn't overly nice, wasn't a complete a-hole, but I did do something in episode 1 that I felt really bad about, and I didn't change it. With the fight with was it Grim? Yeah, I ripped his arm off.
Yeah.
I love
And I
it.
felt real bad about it. And I was like, dang, and then, so there was my big choice
Yeah.
in episode 1. But yeah, it was a pretty intense and pretty enjoyable first episode.
Yeah. We can go through the player choices of episode 1. Just, I don't know if anybody is interested in that who's watching, but I'll bring it up on my screen. Just so wrong one. This one. There we go. The first one was, did you give Faith the money? Do you guys remember that? I did.
Yeah.
I didn't see any reason not to.
Yeah, except for when you need money later on, you don't have it. But yeah, I did give Faith more money.
Yeah. Did you tell Beast the truth about Beauty? When
No.
Yeah, I didn't either. I kept her secret as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Which we finally found out what was going on. So that was interesting. Where did you decide to go first? Did you go help Toad? I don't know what the other option was.
It was
Go back to Faith's husband's
our
apartment.
Oh, okay. What'd you guys do?
I went to Toad's first.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I went to Toad as well.
Yeah.
Because then it's like I'd like to see the other way, because I know when you go to the other place second, he's dead. So I would assume you get him when he's still alive, and then get to interact with him.
Right. That's the next choice, is what happened to Prince Lawrence, and it says I did not prevent Prince Lawrence's death.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a pretty minor character. And then the big question at the end was, who is your prime suspect? Which my prime suspect was not one of the ones listed. You have Prince Lawrence, that's the one I picked because I didn't care about any of them. The Woodsman, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I don't remember the strip club manager's name, but he was an option. And Walter White. I don't remember his name either. Who'd you guys pick? Who do you think the suspect is? Who do you think is the killer from episode 1?
Honestly, I didn't think we met him yet in episode 1, and without overstepping and really not saying anything, I still don't think we've met him personally.
I'm with you there. Yeah.
It's it's just I didn't think it was anyone there that just that we've met yet. I think it's someone that's connected to somebody that we've met, whether it's whoever's giving the orders for Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Hope that's not going too far into anything, but at the moment. But we don't even know who that is yet at the end of episode 2. But it's I honestly don't feel we've met them yet.
You both have played The Walking Dead season 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so something really, really subtle in the very first episode of season 1 was a huge thing when you got to episode 5 and you found out who kidnapped or who Clementine had been talking to the entire time. It was something really subtle in episode 1, which might be a stretch, but the person who I think is the killer is the cab driver. If you replay episode 1 or you watch episode 1, I do remember this. That cab driver is in so many different scenes. He's really subtly placed. Anytime you get in the taxi cab, he's there. There's a part where you're waiting outside in a hallway, and he's there. There's 3 other places where he was. And if you look at the episode titles, we've got Faith and Smoke and Mirrors and The Crooked Mile, but the 4th one, In Sheep's Clothing and Cry Wolf, those kind of, I'll get into it more here in a second, but those kind of lead to my presumption of this cab driver. We go pretty in depth. The Boy Who Cried Wolf. That's who I think he is in the whole Fables universe. You can look at his tie. It's tied in a shepherd's knot. kind of like what The Boy Who Cried Wolf was. And then the last episode, Cry Wolf, was just, that's what it was that sold me on the whole thing. And he's not in episode 2 at all. He's not in the trailer for episode 3, but I think he's the killer. I feel like we saw at the very end of episode 2, the cliffhanger was Ichabod Crane is the one who killed the Lily, which we'll get into more in depth here in a minute.
Really? I don't think it's the case.
That didn't happen to you?
No. I think we saw that Ichabod Crane was the one that was filling up Lily.
Right, okay.
He was the one that wanted the folk,
Okay.
one of the fantasy.
Right.
But
I think they were trying to give you the impression that he was the killer.
Yeah.
Right.
I think.
Trying to give you different. I agree with that.
Right. I don't think he is. I think that it's way too early to find out who the killer is in episode 3. So that kind of enhances my theory from episode 1, where it's the cab driver, just something subtly placed that's there if you look for it, but he's not really a big prominent thing. And I think it's way too early for them to reveal the killer already. So I don't think it's Ichabod Crane.
No, I don't either. I'm sorry. I must have misunderstood what you said earlier. But and to each of your points, I agree. I don't think it's any one of the characters we've been introduced to. That's a very interesting peep out there, though, Flip. And I didn't think, nor did I look at the cab driver. So now you've forced me to go back and rewatch or replay episode 1.
Yeah, I wanted to play episode 1 before I played episode 2, because, like I said, I don't remember much about it. I just remember the important things, and that's about it. But I just didn't have time to go back and play the first episode again. I wanted to, so I might eventually end up going and doing that.
Here would be my thought about kind of like the parallel that you're drawing with the cab driver to like episode 1 of The Walking Dead, how that minor thing was. Like it may have been a minor thing, but it was huge to those characters for what it did for them to cause that person, the guy spurned to them. So it was a minor event that had a major impact on your party.
Right.
Whereas this is something that, like it it could be the cab driver, it could be the boy that cried wolf, because we met Jack from Jack the Beanstalk in episode 2. So it could be him, possibly getting back on people. But like the question I would have is, like, obviously from the I'm thinking of something else there for a second, but you obviously know that they believe the killer's a fable. So then you got to ask yourself, is the cab driver a fable, or is that just a red herring? The idea, like the titles and the tie, just to kind of throw some people off because they thought someone might look at that.
I don't know.
That's where this gets fun to speculate. Like,
right.
The cool thing is there's a thread that they've been tying or pulling through both episodes quite often, right? And that is that the political, socioeconomic divide within the actual theater community is great. Either you are doing well or you're not. And if you're not doing well and you don't have connections, you are the bottomless of the bottom. And you have to do multiple things to survive, like prostitution, you turn to drugs, you're hanging out with the lowest of the lows, and these folks have a net community. So it's very clear whoever this killer is has been shunned greatly or spurned greatly and has retribution. My only concern is that, and I'm looking forward to this, is how does faith tie into this? Furthermore, two things that come up that's pretty clear. Number one, Faith and Lily were both prostitutes. They both were part of the strip club, right?
Right.
And remember the scene, Bixby is talking to the other stripper, and she kept on saying, "These lips are sealed."
Right.
So clearly, there is some type of enchantment or magical deal involved.
That's what I thought too.
About the issue.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a magical issue. I think it's the confidentiality of the business that they're doing. That's why she set up the rendezvous at the hotel, so that way she gave him the information he needed.
Right.
She didn't go to the hotel though. She had no intentions of going.
She can't talk about it though. That's my point. She couldn't specifically talk about it. Neither could Faith.
I don't,
It's starting to.
I don't know if I agree with that assessment though. But because it's it's a matter of like granted, that that may be the case, and like I'm reading it wrong because it's they're using the same wording or phrase, but the business that they're in, this like what Faith was doing at the woodsman's house was she was there in place of Lily to tend to the woodsman. So, you know, and the whole idea of their business is discretion. So they're not going to say anything about who their customers are, like you know, if they get caught out in public, who they're doing something with. But whereas in the strip club, that's why she said here, make an appointment, and she pointed him in the direction to keep that anonymity going. So that way it's not like
Yeah.
I disagree with that, but let me just make a small point here, Flip. The reason why I disagree with it is because Telltale does a good job with facial animation.
Right.
And she reiterated the statement 3 times that she basically, I can't talk about now. 2 of her friends got murdered.
Yeah. I'm with you too. When I was doing my playthrough.
And then he goes out the window. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Flip.
I'm with you. I like we have different opinions, so I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
It adds.
awesome.
But when I was doing my playthrough, like it's in the videos and everything, right when she started saying that, I thought the exact same thing. That there's some enchantment or some spell going on. It makes sense in the Fable universe. I mean, they can do magic things like that. Just like you said, the facial expression she was making, and she kept going back to the lipstick. So I felt like the lipstick had something to do with the enchantment, and maybe that's how it was getting applied or something. I don't know. And then when she said she wanted to make an appointment with you, she reached to the book. I feel like she had no intention of going, but she was just making that appointment because she's allowed to do that. She's allowed to make appointments with people, and that doesn't break whatever curse is on her.
Yeah.
well, like to kind of try to, I guess further my own thought of it is like Georgie was kind of the same way as far as pushing that. I don't think he was using the same verbiage that they use, but pushing the whole, it's none of my business what they do. They just pay me. I don't know anything.
I feel like he's the one behind the enchantment.
I don't think he is, but because I don't really think there's an enchantment per se.
Yeah.
But then you go to like when you get to the hotel, even though Big B's got a key, Beauty says, well, let me come up there with you, so that way people don't think you're, up here by yourself doing what you want. That's where I think that kind of throws that off, is that, Narissa,
Narissa?
the Little Mermaid.
I thought that was really cool that the Little Mermaid was in there.
I think, from my point of view, she gave them the key, so that way, because it's, to keep it in line with the business side of it, just to get him there, because she wanted to help him. Because it's, what I think kind of adds to that is, there's a few moments, in that interaction when you first come in there, she's on the pole doing her thing for Georgie, and you get the option to do a couple things to get her in your corner, and then a little bit on, and the second time I played through it, there's one point where you're talking to Georgie, where she peeks out the door, she's hoping you see her to come back there.
Right.
So she's sticking with the whole, whoever Mr. Smith is, I can't tell you where room 207 is, but if you're paying a customer, I can give you the information on where to meet me, because she doesn't want to, that's how she makes her living. She wants to help him, but at the same time, she doesn't want it to get back to her that, she broke that trust with the client.
I just don't see why she would. She clearly wants to help him. She clearly wants to tell him everything she can. I just don't know. I don't see a reason why she would tell him some information and not everything else, unless there was some higher power that caused her to not.
She gave him. All she did was say, basically, you've got to make an appointment.
Right.
Here's the key. Here, so that way you knew where to go. But she wants to protect her the client.
See, now,
I don't think they could trace it back to her if she
already has
made
the
that.
book. See, here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Bixby already has the book at
Who
that point.
knows about the book though? Except
She knew about it. She filled it out.
She knew about the book. She knew about the book. And here's the thing.
Like
She's
outside of them, no one knows about it.
right, but Bixby is in the process of trying to hunt this down. Here's what in this world, there's murders, deceit, poverty, desperation. Right? I think Telltale does a great job showing that in that brief episode 1 and 2, right? In that 4 hours. And her fear on her face was pretty evident.
Right.
She knows 2 people got murdered. She knows she could be next. And she's trying to do everything in her power to prevent it, but her lips are sealed. 3 times, these lips are sealed, not because she wants to protect client, patient, or client prostitute privilege. That's not what it is.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to, and I don't know what type of enchantment it is, my God, but I'm pretty confident either is her whatever she says goes back to wherever the source is, or it's right on her lips, like you said, the lipstick or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that's what's chopping off the heads. I don't know. Maybe not.
Here's the thing. It may not be an enchantment. It may be somebody having a magic mirror. Because as you see at the end of it, where Crane watches Bigsby looking at the picture of Crane on top of Lily, disguised as Snow White, and let me just digress a little bit here. I can't say how relieved I was with at the end of that interrogation scene opens and here comes Snow White, but back to where we were is that it could be a case of someone having that mirror, like another mirror that we don't know about, because it's in the comics you can deviate from the actual necessarily fairy tale lore. You're not stuck to it, and it could be a case of that they don't want to say anything, and that's how the person knows. But I think that I think it could be a case that they're going after they're targeting Big, like that's why they lopped Faith's head off, because she didn't say anything to Bigsby except that he was nice, you had the option to be really nice to her, which I chose to be, and it's it could be something that's going around with Bigsby, and it's the lobbing off Snow White's head could have been what they thought what one of the conversation options could have been, that what it wasn't directly this, but essentially that it was like a warning, a shot across the bow. So with it being I just think the enchantment's the easy way to go, and it may be, and if it is an enchantment, I would honestly, that keeps on saying, I would kind of be disappointed by it. I'll come out and say it, because I'd rather it be something that they're trying to protect their client, because they're afraid of the guy that overall runs it, because I don't think Georgie's the head man, because it's I think the only people that know about that book are Georgie Hans, only because he happens to glance over and see it filled out, and the girls that work it. And the only reason they have it is as a way to, if someone doesn't pay up or show up, or someone doesn't come back, they know where to look for them, so they can get their money. Because that's all I got the impression from Georgie, that he cared about is, hey, as long as I'm getting my cut, I could care less what happens or what goes on.
It's a pretty shady business to have some client confidentiality, though. So that's why I think that's a little strange. I do feel like Georgie's the one behind it, though, because in both interrogations you had with him, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know anything about this. And then you find the safe. And then he's like, oh, that's been there since we moved in. I don't have a key for it. And then you find the key.
I just think that's the case of, he doesn't want to give up the information, and, he's just trying to, kind of hoping you'll back off, instead of, instead of going after it, I think that's his thing because he doesn't want him to know that there's any record of it. Because you wouldn't have if Hans didn't slip up and say something.
I think if there was not an enchantment going on, then he would have had some sort of interruption when you tried to go talk to Narissa. I don't think he would have been okay with it.
Well, he was talking on the phone and calling the business office to complain about Bigsby.
Right, but he was okay. He seemed. I would imagine if one of your employees is about to just spill the beans on your business, that's going to be a little more important than making a complaint call to the sheriff office. I feel like he would have tried to intervene there a little bit, but I feel like he knew that she wouldn't be able to tell him any information, so he's okay with it. And he's like, go talk to her, whatever, get away from me.
The one thing I feel really good about these guys, and I know that they're not the authors of these storylines, but certainly they're the directors, certainly they have a large part of the script, is very smart writing, very smart direction, and all of this stuff. And both with The Walking Dead and this season 2, first episode, I just love the immersion, the atmosphere that's being placed in here. And to your earlier point, Flip, regarding the subtleties, the nuances, and the fact that, Mike, to your point that you got the other perspective. I think I just really never fully appreciated them until these last 2 episodes.
Yeah, they've came a long way since they did Jurassic Park and Back to the Future. Those were both pretty straightforward. So this one, I like how there's a lot more variety in these. Which ones do you guys prefer, The Walking Dead or Fables so far?
I prefer The Wolf Among Us.
What about you, DMC?
You know what? I had this. Matter of fact, my guy and I had this conversation a couple of days ago, and after I was talking about how I felt it was so bleak playing through the first season of The Walking Dead. And so, my progressions yesterday was, okay, Wolf Among Us 1, then 2, and then after that I played episode 1 of season 2 of The Walking Dead, and I was thrown aback. And so, here's the kicker. I love The Wolf Among Us. I'm looking forward to finish it, but I'm committed to Clementine.
Yeah. Okay.
That story and her growth, and maybe it's because I have a much longer history with her, and it's more of a heartfelt, progressive connection with her story. I think I like if I had to have one, it would be The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I really like the noir feel of The Wolf Among Us, and I think the character choices make more sense in The Wolf Among Us because you have the option to play as the big bad wolf or a decent human being, and it fits either way. It fits his character and what he's trying to do, regardless of which choice you make in each situation. I could see it realistically playing out either way. Whereas in The Walking Dead, at least in season 1. When you're playing as Lee and you make a bad decision, a bad choice, something rude, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. You can kind of see it that way, but I feel like there's more flexibility in the atmosphere.
That's a good point with Lee because no matter how much of an a-hole you want to be with Lee,
you're always nice to Clementine.
He's a good guy.
Right. So it didn't really fit. But I think as far as the immersion and how emotional the storyline was, I think I prefer The Walking Dead over Fables.
Yeah. Let me say this too. That Fable is refreshing, no matter how grimy.
Yeah. I like it a lot. They're completely different.
Yeah, there's no zombies coming around the corner to bite my neck off.
Yeah.
So I can play that game, and I have no tension. I just enjoy it.
Right.
Which is pleasant.
Which is weird because I feel like The Wolf Among Us is much darker.
Now let me ask you a question here. If you think the killer is someone that we've met so far, if you were to pick someone that we've met so far as the killer, who do you think it would be and why?
Well, I've already answered that question.
Well, I'll go to you and then I'll give my answer.
All right, I'm not. I can't. Even though it's super intriguing, I can't use Fliptriq. So, um, this sounds, this sounds like a carrot, right? Just hanging in front of my eyes. But you know, the only person I can think about it who it's being is Blackbeard. I mean Bluebeard, but I know it's not him because I don't know who it is, and I don't think there's anyone there. But if I had to pick somebody, I know it's not Ichabod. He's a coward. You know, I know it's not Krim or Crumb, whatever his name is. You know, and it's not the Beast unless he's a psychopath. You know, so maybe it's just Bluebeard getting back to his old tricks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Hans. That I think it's him.
I can see that.
And here would be the reason why, because he's the one that leads you to where the book is, because he knows it would put you on Ichabod's trail and get you off it, and he's just unassuming enough when you meet him to know that there might be more to him than what you're showing, because he's a jack of all trades, but doesn't do anything, kind of thing. So
Okay.
if I were to put my money on anyone, I'm going to say Hans, because if he's the killer, he knows exactly the breadcrumb that he's leading you on, and with Hansel and Gretel, what the whole breadcrumb thing kind of goes along there.
Okay.
Too.
There you go. Yeah.
But he knows exactly that the moment you get to that room and the moment you see everything, because who would hide a picture of yourself underneath a rug? Somebody would have had to do that was in there. So like that little slip of the picture being underneath a rug, someone had to put it there for you to find it.
Right.
So the best way to get someone off your back is to give them a suspect. Because the one thing is, you don't question who took that picture. You see the picture and you're like, oh God, this is our killer. This isn't instinctively what you think. So I've got to go with Hans.
Okay.
I'm 60% sure that we didn't meet the killer yet, but if we have, I got to think it's Hans.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I like everything you're saying. It all makes sense. You're able to validate your argument pretty well. With the whole picture thing, though, it could have been my cab driver too.
It could have been, but like, why would you don't know the cab? Well, you don't know Hans when you go in there, but like, and the cab driver could be it also because of all the the illusions that's thrown in there.
Yeah. But like you said, we don't know the cab driver. He could be back in what's that book that they open up where they have all the different stories in it?
The Book of Fables.
Yeah. He could be the boy from The Boy Who Cries Wolf, and they just don't know it.
He could be, or he could be somebody glamour to look like somebody else. So,
Yeah, that could be too. That's actually what I initially thought when Snow White walked through the door. I thought she was a glamour of Snow White.
that was my thought too. And then when you find out it is really Snow White, I was so happy she's still alive.
Do you want to go through the player choices of episode 2?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll bring that up. The first one was, how'd you respond to Crane about Snow's death? It said me and 12% of players shut him out. I think that was when you were talking to him at the very beginning of the game.
Yeah.
In the cab?
In the office. Maybe the cab. I don't know. One of the two.
Yeah.
I'd say it's when he's driving you back to the woodlands.
Yeah.
When he's driving me back, I was rude to him at first, and then I said something like, "I'll give you that" or something. So I made small talk with him and it reassured him.
I
don't know which one.
I was down his back the entire time. I was telling him how pissed Snow White was and how I didn't trust him and all kinds of things like that. The second. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I think I was pretty even to him, and then I was in another playthrough. I was gave him the cold shoulder. So I did both ways to him.
All right. The second question was, how'd you treat the murder suspect? Who'd you guys have as your murder suspect? Tweedledee or the Huntsman?
I did it with both, and that's but the very first playthrough was D, and I was putting cigars out on him, stealing his money,
Yeah.
busting liquor bottle over his head.
Mm-hmm. Which playthrough? You said you're doing 2 playthroughs. Which one are you? Are you playing one more as like the choices you'd originally make, or are you just trying to go one route and play through the second route? Are you trying to see all the options, or do you have one playthrough that's like your true playthrough?
I don't have one that I'm overly committed to, but the reason I have the second playthrough was because when I was trying to find for the last trophy, how to get that.
I hate how they're doing that, by the way.
There wasn't anyone that was very clear, and at the time the clearest thing I got was you gotta have the interrogation with both and go through both interrogations,
Right.
which isn't the case.
Right. You want to clear that up for anybody? What you actually do have to do?
To get the trophies.
There's 2 missable books of fables.
Yeah, it's like if you go through, let's say you interrogate D, and you're do all the worst things with him, and you're gonna get Ichabod Crane to come in and interfere, and that gets you 1 trophy. The way
1
to
book
get
of
the other
fables.
trophy for it is to replay that section with D and be nice to him, and then Bluebeard's gonna come in and go crazy on him, and you're gonna stop Bluebeard, and that gets you the other trophy.
Right.
The last missable trophy is after you're done talking to TJ. When Snow White asks you, "Are you ready to go?" Say in a minute. Go to the mirror and ask the mirror what Toad was looking at, why Toad was watching you or something, and that'll get you the other one.
But
there's one more.
That's not. There's that one's not a book of fables.
The other one that you're talking about from the Book of Fables is chapter 1, episode, book 1-6.
The second
one is where you have to choose which one you're going to choose. It's the very end of the first episode. And if you choose D, you get 1 book. If you choose the Huntsman, you get the other book.
Well, you're talking about episode 1.
On the last one, play and pick up that last trophy.
That's for episode 1. Is that one? The one for episode 2 is the interrogation. You have to be nice to him and then be rude to him. And the second one is I can show you it on the list of them. When you're going to the Trip Trap bar, you have to ask Holly about her sister. You have to talk to Holly about Lily, and you get, if it would load, I'll show you which one it is.
I didn't know that was missing. I got it.
I got that one through conversation because it's
Right.
something the maker was listed as being I think more missable.
It's this one right here.
It doesn't come right out and say it. Like it doesn't direct you to go talk to the mayor unless you go do it on your own. Because Holly you talk to. So,
Right, but you don't have to talk about her sister. You can let her off the hook
that's
and not
true.
talk
So
about her.
That's the other missable one. There's like 3 total.
I heard there was only 2, but you might be right. I don't know.
It would technically be 3 because it would be talking to Holly about Lily, the mayor, because like I didn't know to go to the mayor until someone finally posted in a Facebook group I was in, and I put it on pstrophies.org and the little thread for it, and someone put a more detailed post about it on there, but and then it's the interrogation, either of the interrogation, because you're going to get one of the interrogations no matter what,
Right.
and then the mayor, there's nothing that really points you to go talk to it other than like you kind of looking over at it when Snow asks you if you're ready to go.
Clearly, we have some issues and discrepancies here. I hate this trophy. I don't like this at all. How they make you replay things and how there's missable things for the trophy list. I know. I'm going to sort of play devil's advocate. There's the people who don't care about trophies at all that are just going to play the game once, and I feel like that's the way you should do it. But then there's people like us that want the trophies and want the completion. I just feel like they should have gone with the same format that they did with The Walking Dead, where it doesn't matter, you just play through it. And in a game like this, where your decisions are so important to how the outcome of the game is, I feel like going back and rewinding and replaying an outcome kind of messes with the way the game attaches itself to you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so I have in my main playthrough, and I did rewind just for the 2 trophies I missed, but I rewind those specific episodes, those specific chapters, I guess, in the episode. But I do have a main game. In my main game, I think I lost the original question. What was the question, Flip?
It was
the main game?
It wasn't a question.
Huh?
I just made a statement. I didn't have a question.
No, originally. You had a question for...
who your suspect was?
Huh?
Who your suspect was?
No, it was not one, but... well, in my main game, I actually chose to interrogate you.
Yeah.
And I let the huntsman go.
That's what I did as well.
Felt good about it.
Yeah.
And so, and I wasn't nice to D in the interrogation. I did take his money, because I thought it was dirty money. And every time I did something bad remotely, Bluebeard smiled, and he eventually got pissed off at me because I was too nice to him. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing's gonna play out.
Yeah, I didn't touch the money. I burned him with a cigar and punched him a lot. I haven't done the rewind yet. Like I said, I didn't have time to do that yet. What exactly do you have to do to be nice to him to get that portion of it?
Just like give him a smoke, give him a drink,
Okay.
hit him, make sure your conversation is kind of like the nice options.
Right.
See, like I would recommend even after you get those entries, going back and doing the huntsman. This is a spoiler cast for the woodsman, whatever he is, because it's when you interrogate the woodsman, he tells you why Faith was at his apartment, because it was supposed to be Lily that was supposed to come there.
Oh, okay, see, I didn't know that.
And because Lily was missing, and this is what you find out from interrogating the woodsman. Because Lily went missing, Faith took her place, Faith asked Lily to take her place because Lily had something else going on. And that's what the woodsman was so ticked off about, is it wasn't supposed to be her. And he didn't, from what he tells you when you talk to him, he didn't have the money to pay for services that he wanted rendered, but from the agreement he had with Lily is that Lily basically ran a tab for him, and he would pay her at a later time. And you get this from him, so you get to see that opening, like how that opening confrontation in episode 1 started, and what the catalyst was that caused it. So you get the answer to that, which I think pretty much exonerates the woodsman from being suspect number 1 once you get that part of the conversation with him.
Right. And then if you had Tweedledee, the information you got from him was that he was working for someone else. I don't remember the name, but
They never gave the name.
They did in my playthrough.
You did?
It wasn't like a name. He had like a nickname. It was like...
They gave like a title or something.
Right.
For it, or what they call him, but nothing.
I want to say the Riddler. I know it's not the Riddler, but it was something along those lines.
It wasn't. I don't think it was anything that you could sit there and trace back like, oh, it's this character here.
Right.
But
the characters in the game, when they had that dialogue portion, all seemed like they knew who he was. But I don't know.
You want to go replay episode 2?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and rewatch parts of this part of my playthrough and see exactly what I'm talking about. But
I think it might be the guy that's pulling the strings for those two, but that's why I think it is. But it could be the cab driver, it could be Hans, it could be somebody else that's pulling the strings.
Yeah. The next question on the player choice list was, did you let Snow come with you to the trip trap?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. It says me and 92.5% of players let her make her own decision to come. I didn't see any reason not to let her come. I didn't understand why that was even an option. Plus, she had the pendant to give to Holly, so it didn't make
Well, they
sense.
painted up the big picture of her life being in danger, and that when
Right.
folks realized that she wasn't dead, they might come back after her. Right. So that was the big decision that you had to make. Do you keep her isolated? Do you let her come?
Okay.
I let her come with me as
Yeah.
well.
So did I. Well, I wonder if you don't have her come, do you have the pendant to give to Holly, or do you think that's not even an option? Because that was one of the books of fables as well, was that pendant.
I would think she'd come no matter what, but
Okay.
I didn't choose the other option. I would almost think that if you like said no, I don't want you to come, she comes on her own accord instead of
That would
being
make sense.
vocal about it.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. The next one was, how did you handle Georgie Porgy? Who is this guy? Is he from some fable that I don't know of? I don't know who this guy is at all.
Georgia Porgy pudding pie?
Is that a real thing?
Kiss the girls and make them cry?
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this, but okay. I guess he is a character. Either way, it says me and 27.9% of players hit him. What'd you guys do? Did you beat him up a little?
First time I did it. Second time I destroyed everything.
Yeah.
And if I could destroy it, I destroyed it. Cause that's why I didn't get the first time. Because I didn't touch him at all. He bumped into the boombox himself, and so I couldn't get why he was so upset necessarily and went to call the business office on me. But the second time through, I figured, well, if he's going to call the business office, I'm just going to destroy everything.
That's weird they still made the complaint on you if you didn't break anything. Did you still find the safe?
Yeah.
How did you find the safe if you didn't kick the
keg?
keg?
Into a corner and he wanted to tripping over something.
Okay.
And and you find it because I don't think it's really even covered up that much. But when I did bring it, I did kick the keg into the wall, but it was nothing. It wasn't nowhere near as bad as destroying the sign, the DJ booth, and the cigarette machine.
Wow, so that's weird. I was nice to him and I tripped over and found out about the safe, but he wouldn't give me the key. So I had to destroy the DJ booth to get the key.
He'll give you the key as you walk up to the DJ booth. Cause there's the option to destroy it and the other option. If you do the other option, he'll think you're going after to destroy it, and he'll go and just grab the key out.
Interesting. Yeah, that's kind of. I think that's really creative how they do that. Like I've said, I've heard other people say this. The Telltale games always seem to be like a coloring book. You still have the same overall picture, but how you color it in is different from character or from player to player, which I think is really interesting. The next one was, did you keep punching Beast when he was down? Me and 89.4% of players opted not to hit Beast the second time. I thought that fight scene was kind of weird. I was playing the self-defense method. I don't agree with this fight. I don't want to have the fight. I'm with Beauty on this. Just calm Beast down. That's the route I took. So I didn't hit him unless I had to.
Yeah, I stopped as well, and Beast did the fastest 180 I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
He saw the boy. He's like,
right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
The very first time I let up on him, the second time I went ahead and threw that extra punch, and there really wasn't much that changed between the two.
I thought when Bigsby took his claws and just clawed his eyes out, he recovered from that pretty fast. It was like he didn't even phase him.
Yeah, so
he just wiped his eyes.
Maybe his nails went under his eyeball. Because his eyeball
Maybe.
was normal.
I guess.
Which begs the question, right? So if you're a Fable and not a Mundy, you're hard to kill, and you recover from your injuries typically very fast, right? And so, I'm getting back to my guilty moment here. I wonder if my boy's going to grow his arm back. The one that I ripped off.
Yeah, I ended up ripping it off too.
If you notice, when you rip off his arm, because you continued your playthrough with his arm ripped off, but when his arm's ripped off, it's gone. But if it's not, it's still there. So if you go through, because when I arrested D, I didn't rip off his arm, and so that was the first playthrough I did, and he had both of his arms. but when I went through with the rest of the woodsman, that's where I ripped off his arm, and he only had the one arm. So
Yeah, Sleeves pinned up in episode 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it only made my guilt that much deeper when I saw him pinned up with his pinned up sleeve on his jacket.
Yeah, they did that in the first season of Walking Dead when Lee got bit and you had to choose whether or not to cut his arm off. If you, I thought it was creative how they did this. If you kept his arm on there, or I mean, if you cut it off, obviously he didn't use it for the rest of the game because it wasn't there. But if you kept it on, he also, like in all the cutscenes, he's not using that arm. There's like the one where he's jumping across the roof and he grabs on. He only grabs on with the arm that would be there regardless. And I just found that
awesome.
interesting.
You know, one quick thing that I want to bring up is you know, I played the first season of The Walking Dead on the PS Vita. So my save files there, everything looks great. When I started up my second season, episode 1, it was on the PS3. Now, what the PS3 does, it says, hey, you need to go back and look at your history because we're going to incorporate all those decisions you made so you can continue your playthrough.
Right.
Fortunately, I don't have a save on there.
Right.
And there's no way for you to transfer these saves from the Vita to the PS3.
I never thought about that.
So it randomized the entire first season for me. You know, and it's fine. But I would hope that as a future modification to these game franchises, especially if they start to transfer them over to PS Vita, that they give some type of method by which we can upload and download these save files. Because folks play on different platforms, and I think it's important to have that. That was just my pet peeve that I wanted to throw out there.
Yeah, that annoyed me too because it didn't really make that big of an impact in the first episode of season 2, but I think going forward it will. I think that they just overlooked that. Maybe I feel like season 2 should have came out on the Vita for people like you in that situation, or they should, like you said, should have a way to convert the save. That's odd. I never even thought about that, but yeah, that would be awful. I'd be very frustrated if that happened to me.
Well, on my league, put in perspective, Clementine, I kept Lee's arm because I knew he would need it. Or at least my thought was he was going to need it, and he was going to zombify anyway. And then I had Clementine shoot with it, because I didn't want Lee to come back as a zombie, and I felt that would probably help Clementine grow a little bit more as she progressed in season 2. Well, when they randomized it, Lee's arm was cut off, and Clementine walked away and left Lee handcuffed to the radiator.
Yeah.
You know, so that was the one thing I wanted, right?
Yeah.
Is for them to change my ending on season 1. But
now we're gonna have to label this the Walking Dead spoiler cast as well.
no!
But since we're there, I
screwed up everybody.
I really wanted to shoot Lee. I wanted to. I knew I should have. I couldn't do it. I could not pull that trigger. I don't know what it was, but I don't know. I could not make Clementine go through that.
There's a chance, Flip. There's a chance that a cure is going to happen and Lee's going to come back.
Maybe. I don't know. I could not put Clementine through that.
I had Lee's arm cut off, and my thought was I was thinking of good old Herschel.
Yeah.
how he survived the TV series with getting his leg cut off. So that's why I went to, I was thinking, well, maybe there's a chance. There's a chance that cutting off his arm will save him. Just maybe, but no.
Yeah. We kind of talked about the fight with Beast, how I didn't really feel like that made a lot of sense. I know Beast was angry, but I thought that whole fight scene was a little overdone. The other thing that I didn't really agree with was the nudity in it. I didn't feel like that was necessary at all. I know you're in a strip club and they're trying to be dark about it, but she could have had a top on and still been doing her audition. I just thought it was unnecessary. I don't really know why exactly, but I feel like they're trying to, I don't know, like boost ratings or boost sales or something. It just seemed like a stretch because they even had the nudity in the trailer. So they announced that was coming before it came out. So I think they're just trying to increase sales.
I agree with you.
I didn't really think it was necessary.
The games are so well built and so story driven that that could be the only reason why. Or it could be that they want to strive for authenticity that they believe that would represent in that world, in that time, in that space. But yeah, I agree with you that it was a little unnecessary, but I don't have much of a problem with it with respect to the maturity of the game.
Yeah.
I think it fits within, the world. It's a game. This is a game that's not designed for, like, honestly, kids under like 16 or so. If even that, just because of the content and some of the nature of it, I would dare say, just from what I've read so far in the Fables comic, it's there's a reason it's imprinted, it's published under the Vertigo line and not under DC, because it's a lot more mature themed at a different audience. So,
Right.
I think taking that in, it fits within the tone of the comic and the world of that this exists in. That it's, yeah, it's probably, the game would have been the same without it. It didn't have any effect, but it's more or less to, I would say, establish the continuity between the game and the actual comic it's based off.
Yeah. I actually have a bunch of the comics. I have like the first 15 issues back from 2002
Yeah.
in my comic book collection. I thought that was really cool when they announced the game because I already knew what it was and already knew all the characters and everything. So I thought that was really cool when they announced it. I was really excited.
I wanted here to have a comic chat.
On all the boxes and crates that I have comics, and I probably stopped buying comics maybe about 3 years ago. That was the one series that I never picked up. I mean, I had everything at the time. The Authority. I think I was also looking at. There was so many of them, but yeah, that's the one that I didn't get. And now I'm kind of disappointed because this is a prequel to it, right? So
Yes.
this dives directly into the comic book series, and I guess I need to go and pick up a couple of those graphic novels.
Yeah.
Amazon's got them really good because I bought volume 1 for just under $8 off Amazon for digital. So I've switched over, and I know we're jumping off games, comics here. Like any comics I buy now are predominantly digital, just because I don't want to have them lugging around, and I've sold off the bulk of my collection, which was like easily like 600-700 comics several years ago, and like I've still got about around 100 left. But I primarily go digital with my comics going forward, just because I don't have the clutter. I don't have to worry about the upkeep. But if you like digital comics, like Amazon's got the trades for this at a very good price.
Cool. So if any of you guys are interested and want to pick up the Fables story or pick it up where it leaves off after the game, Amazon. Yeah.
Just advertising PC.
Well, it sounds like a good place to go. I think that's all that I have that I want to talk about. Is there anything else you guys wanted to brush on before we end this?
I say we remember here now who we picked as the killers and who we picked like the enchantment, non-enchantment argument. So when episode 5 comes out and we play and beat it, we see like who was closest.
Yeah.
I'd just be interested to see those predictions.
Yeah, I think that would be a fun part of that for everybody.
Yeah.
So that's another plus to the reason why we're doing this. So it'll be fun to see this going forward, to come back and watch this episode. Hopefully we don't have to wait 4 months. I know recently they made a press release saying that due to the holidays and other difficulties, they had to delay the production of this episode. And going forward, it shouldn't be more than the 1.5 to 2 month gap. So hopefully that holds true. I know with season 1 of The Walking Dead, it was around the 2 month mark for each episode, and it seemed like a decent amount of time. Because I know they don't have the whole thing done already. They release an episode and then actually listen to user feedback and then write it afterwards based on what they heard. I know they've done that for The Walking Dead. I'd imagine they're doing the same thing. So they're actually actively working on it. They're not just holding off for no reason at all. So
That's scary, man. They do such a great job. I just hope they, well, you know what? I guess I trust them. trust them to deliver the story.
Yeah.
So.
They definitely do deliver. So I'm looking forward to episode 3. The trailer that they showed at the end of episode 2 made it look like there's going to be a lot going on. They didn't go into a whole lot of detail, but just the little clips that they showed were...
You know what's funky? The trailer at the end of episode 1 showed Bisbee choking out Ichabod, saying something like cursing him out.
That's probably from episode 3, after when he goes back to confront him.
Right, so those little small glitches, in the actual game, it kind of bugs me out. Because the whole time I was looking forward to that in the episodes, it never came.
Yeah.
It never came.
I guess they were just foreshadowing a little bit further.
A little bit too much, huh?
Yeah. But we'll be doing a spoiler cast for episode 3 whenever that does come out. We'll pick this up with The Walking Dead, do a spoiler cast for each of those episodes as well. And any other future games that we feel like deserve a more in-depth discussion rather than our quick review that we do. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, we'll be back whenever another episode presents itself. So hopefully you guys stay tuned and look forward to that. But thank you all for watching. Let us know your predictions in the comment section below and reach out to us a little bit. We'd be very curious to see what you guys all thought. So any last words from any of you?
Nope.
All right.
Over the game.
Yeah. Well, you all take it easy. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.